Still more on Eugene Gendlin's idea of the felt sense, which is, well, it's something that informs most of his writing. This idea that we have a kind of sensory motor, somatosensory awareness, which accompanies perception, conception, thought, and which we can gain better access to by various processes, interior processes. It speaks a lot about going inside, finding the spaces inside oneself, that kind of thing. Several more things that interest me about that. Firstly is its relationship to Antonio Damasio's writing. Antonio Damasio is a neuroscientist, and what he writes about in several of his books, the feeling of what happens specifically, and Descartes' error, I think is the other one, is about the fact that something like the felt sense, he wouldn't call it that, but certainly emotional tagging of responses, feelings, seems to accompany even the most rational of thought. Excuse me. Pardon me. Oh dear. Pardon me. Okay, he gives the example of unusual sensation. Anyway, he gives the example of what a well-known case study of Henry Gage. I won't go into all the details of that because it's very easy to find out information about Henry Gage. Broadly speaking, he was a man who suffered major trauma to his brain because of an accident at work, and as a result of that, even though he didn't seem to have lost any of his rational capabilities, his memory seemed to be intact and so on. His ability to function in the world seemed more or less intact. He seemed to have lost his ability to have what you might broadly call emotional responses to things, which doesn't sound terrible. It sounds like you turn into like Mr. Spock out of Star Trek or something like that. And in theory, you would imagine, would be able to make completely rational, organised decisions, being able to weigh up things completely in a completely organised way. But that's not what happened at all. He completely lost his ability to make decisions, lost his ability to make plans, to see through particular projects. He lost any kind of investment in what he was doing, because without the subtle emotional tones and tags that accompanies even the most rational and apparently objective of ideas, there's no grounds for making any kind of decision, any kind of response. I think everything becomes pretty meaningless, really. So, why am I talking about that? Oh yeah, okay. In relation to the felt sense. So I think what the overlap or the elision between those two ideas, Gendlin's idea of the felt sense and Antonio Damasio's recognition of some kind of feeling tone or some kind of emotional component to all thought, is again, it's interesting that the word feeling is in there, and I'm going to talk about that in a second if I can figure out a way what I'm thinking about. But what Gendlin seems to be recognizing, and Damasio seems to be explicating, is that when we, whilst we might particularly value rational thought, or whilst we might kind of symbolize rational thought to ourselves as if it was an object, external and visual, at all times these rational ideas have roots which lie inside of the body, inside of our felt sense, inside of our values and the priorities, inside of our somatic responses. What we do with that is up to us, but nevertheless I think we ignore those things at our peril in a sense. And Gendlin's project seems to be about, at least partially, just stopping and smelling the flowers occasionally, just taking the time to get inside oneself and try to perceive the emotional tone of these thoughts as they are arising from the body. And I say arising from the body because it's not that these thoughts are in conflict with the body. These thoughts are produced, at least partially, by the body's responses and by the mobilization of embodied circuits in the brain. So that's where I'm going with that, I think. So I think there's some kind of relationship there. I was going to talk about something else there, actually, wasn't I? I can't remember. I'll try and come back to it.